The Sing Your Heart Song Summit featuring Jan Robberts. Jan Robberts is known as a global influencer and self-leadership strategist. He is co-founder of Key Leadership Institute and founder of JRS Speakers Club, based in South Africa and Scotland. In addition, Jan is an international leadership keynote speaker, coach, behavioral analysis consultant, and values-based leadership specialist. For more information, please visit his website at www.keyleadership.com. Mark your calendars for day 3. Jan will be sharing his heart song, Stepping Up and Speaking Up from What Is in Your Heart and Having a Lasting Impact on Others. Legacy. Don't just leave a legacy, live a legacy. Jan believes in a world where people are inspired to use their voice to lead rather than suffer in silence and follow. Good morning, Steph. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you, Olivia?
I'm well as well. And I'm not in my usual location, so I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts.
You've done a little traveling.
So I know I've been doing some traveling. And it's so fun, right? It's so fun that we can travel and do these things. And I'm in my parents' home. This is the home I grew up in here in Boston. So we're actually like in Worcester. I lived in Worcester, but I've been spending the whole weekend traveling. And so I'm not in Jacksonville. I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts, but thankfully we have connection. And I'm using my mobile hotspot too to connect to, because it's faster internet than what my parents have.
Oh, wow.
So it's just one big experiment to see how this is all going to play out with live streaming. So all of you who are watching, please let us know if you can hear us, if you can see us, etc., because I just need to test, right? Because I will be live streaming all this week from this location in Worcester. So I need to know.
Well,
and I guess, you weren't
Sorry?
You weren't feeling well either, but I appreciate you being here as well.
Yeah, well, it's been a turbulent weekend. So, although it involved no planes, I was on the ground the whole time, but definitely experienced my own set of turbulence. And from my perspective, you sound great. The connection sounds right on. And it's awesome how things are able to work out, even when we might hit a little turbulence or things might not seem like they're working the way that we would like them to be working.
We're going to get into some values today. And I'm so excited to have our speaker, Jan Robberts, joining us and talk about travel. I mean, he is going to come into us today from South Africa. So this is really incredible. I know. Woo! So South Africa. And I just love like hearing, different people and how they sound. Like, I think he's got a very unique accent and I just love hearing it. And so I think that's going to be such a special treat today. And also just to hear more about his work that he's doing with the Key Leadership and values, because I think one of my values is just like resilience, right? Like pulling through. So, and I'm being really tested of that. And I'm curious to hear what other values that Jan has for the leadership training he does. So let's see if he's here, and we're going to bring him on. 1, 2, 3. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Olivia, and hello, Steph. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah, wonderful. It's absolutely a pleasure to be with both of you. And Steph, I just heard as well that you're not feeling too great, but so it's a real privilege that you actually decided to come on and be with us today. So thank you as well, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. And I mean, it's a pleasure, and these types of experiences really help with me getting into a good place. So totally my pleasure and totally in alignment.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And Jan, thank you so much for submitting those beautiful quotes and pictures. I love that you shared that picture of you having breakfast with your spouse in the mountaintops. That was really, really nice. And I love that.
Yeah, well, it was wonderful because we got this present from a friend of ours in Scotland. She's also got a big a coaching platform where she invites coaches to talk. And I spoke for her in Inverness in Scotland some years ago at a conference. And she gave us a gift for a wedding. And that was in the 1st of May. That was 1 year ago. And we hadn't been able to use it before. So it was wonderful just to get away last weekend. The weather was, as you could see, was glorious there. And to be in the mountains, not only half an hour outside of Johannesburg, was absolutely phenomenal. And Friday night is normally date night for me and my wife. So it couldn't have been better.
I love it. I love it. And I just love, and I'm sorry the video clip had cut out that piece, but I just love what you said about don't just think about leaving a legacy, live it, live out your legacy. And I just saw that so clearly depicted in that picture. Like you're holding hands, you're spending that moment, you're enjoying each other, you're enjoying this wonderful meal, nutritious meal, it looks like too. I was kind of wondering what was on the table. And it just really spoke to me that you chose that picture.
Yes, thank you. And of course, I mean, I'm speaking to other people here who also live in a legacy because, so always talk about, we need to leave a legacy and there's nothing wrong with that. But what is so very wrong with that picture is, why don't we start today? Why don't we live a legacy so we make a difference right now? Because, I mean, nothing wrong if they want to talk about me when I'm dead and what they say doesn't really bother me anymore. But I mean, and they talk enough about me while I'm alive and not all of it good. But as I said before to people, even a clown doesn't make everybody happy. So when you speak your truth and you do something that is different, as you probably would find out as well, there's always going to be some people who have an objection or have a different perception or an opinion, and that's fine. That's fine, but hey, it is what it is. But we need to make these differences now, because do we really know whether we are going to wake up tomorrow? No, that's always in the hands of the gods or whatever you believe in. But the one thing we can control is while we are here at this moment, we can do a lot more good because it's, let's do this tomorrow. Tomorrow I will do this. And we all know what happens with tomorrow. Even when we wake up tomorrow, it's always tomorrow.
Yes. And so far, no matter how many times I look at the calendar, I have not yet found someday on it. So.
True.
And, if we want the time that we have available to us is the time that we have right now, we can either, take advantage of that and be living our legacy, or we can wait for that someday and on that mysterious calendar that might someday arrive. Or we can seize the day that we have before us right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when people say, what would you like people to tell them at your eulogy? They can say whatever they like on my eulogy, but I mean, I would rather have the conversation with these people today. And, even when we really think about it, people closest, like our parents, and I'm blessed, both of mine are still alive. My dad's going to be 85 this year and my mom 81. But, thinking into those kind of things, I thought, well, why don't we have meaningful conversations with the people who we would like to talk about our eulogy when we've passed away? Why don't we have these conversations today? Tell us how much they care for each other, how much people mean to us, and how we can make a difference to the people in our lives by first making a difference in our own lives. Because we've all heard it, be the change you want to see in the world, and all those wonderful quotes. But what does it really mean? Is it that we need to at least grow ourselves? Because if we really want to pour into other people, like both of you do continuously, then we need to actually make sure that we grow ourselves every day as well.
Absolutely. I've like I've heard many times about the idea of creating a legacy or a eulogy. What do we want people to say when we pass away? One of the things when I was living in Tacoma, Washington, that really struck me was that there are two primary museums there. There's the Tacoma Art Museum, there's a glass museum, and both of them display prominently and have been influenced significantly by an artist from there, Dale Chihuly, who's still alive and can create that legacy, create that environment and that structure, and share his work with other people while he's still living, which now, like you say, they can say whatever they're going to say at our eulogy. There's I'm probably not going to be there, and it doesn't really matter, but what people say about us and what we create the space for people to say and to express is something we can influence today by the life that we are living, the legacy that we are creating today. For
sure. Yeah, and I like that. And as you said, for that eulogy, it's not that I'm deaf, but I won't hear it anymore. So, and that doesn't mean people sometimes say to me, yeah, but do you really want them to say what, how much you mean to them, or how great or big you are? No, I don't want that. That's not what it's about. It's far from the truth. I mean, it's quite the opposite. I want to make sure that I look in the mirror every day and say, I'm doing something to make a difference today. And whether it's today, it might be in my life, but if I do make a difference in my life, maybe tomorrow I can make a better difference in somebody else's life. Because I said, people say, why do you constantly keep growing? And we talked about values and personal development and self-care and all those kind of things. I said, well, the reason I constantly keep growing is two things. Because we either grow or we go. Because we also change happens all the time. So if you're either sliding down a slippery slope, or you're climbing. And I think put your mountain boots on, because you better be climbing. And life is going to find me climbing until the end. And I thought, but one of the reasons is because, like yourselves, you're such giving people, and you want to make you are making a difference in this world already. But my question is always, how can I make a better and bigger difference? And there's nothing to do with ego. How can I do more? And if I want to do more and be more, I need to become more. And it's as simple as that. It's not always easy. I get that, but it's simple.
It's so fascinating that you're mentioning another Go reference, because we had wrapped up an interview with Yi Ching. You were talking about the primal instinct to just go and go do it. And here you are. It's either grow or go.
It's a choice.
It is a choice, yes. And just a big shout out here to Gloria. Gloria's chiming in, and she likes that too. Yes, so either you grow or you go. So thank you, Gloria, for tuning in and supporting your fellow colleague here. We so appreciate that. And she also loves Lily Glass. So yay, wonderful, wonderful. So I'd love to know too, Jan, like what prompted you? Like, how did you become so passionate about this area of topic? Leadership training, the value-based system.
Well, my journey has been for me a fairly interesting one. But I was bullied as a little child, and at 17, the story's a bit longer. But at 17, I drew a line in the sand, because at 12 I grew to 6'4" from being as wide as I was tall, and the bullying stopped. But the bullying in here carried on. And that gave me some problems in the next few years. And at 17, I said, I can't live the rest of my life like this. So I drew a line in the sand. And we all know that when you close some doors, other ones open. And some people need to actually close some of those doors and also walk through some of the ones that open up for them, and rather than looking at them and wondering if they should. But I did. And somebody handed me a personal development book. And the same year I started martial arts as well, which is Aikido. And it's all about mind power and mind development, mind over matter more than anything. So nothing happens by coincidence. But since then, I landed up in the oil industry as an inspection in the inspection side, became an expert in what I do, and I spent lots of time either offshore or 10 months of the year in hotel rooms. So I started. Half my luggage used to be books, personal development books, success, leadership. I started coaching training as well for a couple of years, but I had that opportunity to do that because, people think it's wonderful spending time in hotel rooms. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks, fine. But 10 months, not so good anymore. So I used that time well, and eventually something happened, and that came to the values, because I was already in personal development, coaching. I also said more than 30 years ago, if somebody's going to train me to speak, it's going to be Les Brown or nobody, and be very careful what you wish for. And that also started happening. But I kind of looked into this, and in 2012, I joined the John Maxwell team as well, the Maxwell leadership team, it's called now, and became an executive director there. And it happened through a few connections from my coaching training previous to that. And then in 2013, he asked for volunteers to go and help transformation of an entire country. And I thought, well, you know, I'm helping people and all that was my thing. I thought, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And we went to Guatemala in 2013, trained 19,000 people in 3 days with Spanish interpreters. And when you think that the average age in Guatemala of 14 million people was only 20, so that means most of our interpreters were teenagers. Now, John said something before that which I didn't understand. He said, once you've tasted significance, success will never be enough. And I didn't know the difference really, but I got that. So much so in Guatemala that it made such an impression on my life. I always knew, we've all got this little voice that speaks in our heart. We've all got that one. And some people have got one in their head and they still keep saying to themselves, no, I haven't. Well, that little voice that just told you haven't, you've got one. But when it goes from your head to your heart, you can it's nearly unstoppable. And that's where the regret really comes in. At the end of the life, most people, they wish they had done things but didn't do them. Well, for me, that voice became louder. And then on the way home from Guatemala, it was the last piece of my jigsaw. I've been developing myself for so long, and I quit my job. On the way home, I quit my job. I had to work another year to finish as a project manager, finish some projects. But there was no doubt about it because it was a case of if not now, then when. And that's what people don't get. Most people make excuses for the life they are living. They're merely existing. And they keep complaining. I call that blamestorming. Blamestorming is where we blame everybody else, the cat, the dog, the neighbor, the boss, the government, for all that is wrong with us. And the only person who can do it is the person looking in the mirror. And that process, I saw that for the first time as values-based leadership. And it blew me away, the simplicity of it. And I realized that most of the time when it gets difficult, it's human interaction that makes it difficult. We overthink things. But this process, it changed my life, and I wanted to be part of that. And the next year in Berlin, Ohio, in Amish country, I got invited, one of 17 people around the world, to become one of the founding specialists for the for-profit side and developing this. And the year after that, my wife went there as well. So that's how the values started coming into our lives. I mean, we've always had values, but that's when the values-based leadership came in. And people say, oh, when they hear values-based leadership, they hear leadership, oh, that's for them. And I say, well, we're all leaders, and leadership begins with self-leadership, and that begins with personal development. And then they say, but values, whoa. I say, well, we need to take a step back, because leadership around the world, and bear in mind that we're all leaders, is based on basic human values, and it's failing because of lack of values. So I say, maybe as humanity, we need to take a step back and embrace those values. And these are basic human values. These are nothing fancy that hangs on a wall in a corporate that most people have no clue what it is or how to go about it. But these are basic human values like connection, listening, forgiveness, restraint, respect, hope. We all need more hope nowadays. And Napoleon, the little French fella a few centuries ago, said, leaders are sellers of hope. So I ask people, what are you selling? And we all need more hope, and we need to become more hopeful, because we know that the famous sayings say that, if there is where there is no hope, the people perish. But I like the other saying better, that where there is hope in the future, there's power in the present. So we can do so much more but to give hope, we also need to become hopeful. And to discuss basic human values around the table we've been lucky to be involved in also the start of transformation in Paraguay. And then the team went to Costa Rica in 2018. But my wife and I went to Ireland to help start Lift Ireland, Leading Ireland Future Together. And then when the COVID saga started happening, we became involved in online doing this as well, and we reached another person in Lebanon, Sadia Kebi, who is also a part of the Maxwell team, and we started developing the transformation in Lebanon, and from there we've now worked with transformation Bangladesh, and we're working with Pakistan, and of course here in South Africa as well. And it's just beautiful to be able to live from the heart, and do something that, I mean, I can honestly say I love what I do. And I've got a few wonderful examples in my life who love what they do. But it's a cliche. But once you love what you do, you're not worried about getting up in the morning anymore. You're not worried about. They say when you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. And my father is a great example. My parents, when they moved in the late 70s from the Netherlands to Scotland, and he's 85 now, and he still loves what he does. He walks around in his clogs. He's also a people person. And so I've got an example right on my doorstep. And for me to be able to do something very different, because he's got holiday chalets, but something very different, but also to love what I do. And I wish everybody, whether the listeners here or they hear it later, that they start thinking about what they would love to do in their life and start doing it before it's too late, because we are not guaranteed tomorrow. We are guaranteed today. And a rabbi once said, if you don't do anything with today, what do you need tomorrow for?
Wise words.
Indeed.
Seize the day. That's awesome. So I have done a fair amount of work with values as well. In fact, I have values for like a specific value that I tune into for each day of the week. And one of the things that I've noticed is that, I mean, there are hundreds of different types of values. I mean, all kinds of areas. Do you help people make sense or kind of decrease the list to really laser in on any specific values?
Well, that's a good question, Steph. And yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look, even those that know Dr. John DeMartini, he's also very values driven, and he's got 13 questions in his how you're going to find your personal values. And in those cases, one of your personal values might be family. It might even be your laptop. That's something you value very dearly. So it could be all kinds of different things. But in this process, which has been on the go for more than 40 years, it's all basic human values. There is 48 of them, and my wife actually wrote another value, and that started the transformation of Lebanon, and it was the value of compassion. She also is writing a book, the Compassionate Leader of Influence, which hopefully is finished in the next couple of months. But these are all basic human values. So ideally, we want people to go through one of these values. It's 2 pages. Every value is 2 pages, and it talks about what the value is. So, for example, the value of listening, what listening really is, what the benefits are of somebody who listens well, the characteristics of a good listener, but also steps to follow to become a better listener. Because it's a great value, because we always overestimate our own listening skills and underestimate everybody else's. And then we're actually listening to somebody with this in front of our nose, like, and all those kind of things happen. So these are all basic human values. And what normally happens is, whether it's an organization, because we work with government, we work with corporate, we work with informal areas, education system, schools, even families, and it's a roundtable process, and anybody and everybody can sit around the table. Normally, sometimes between 5 and 10 people, and we do it once a week for about an hour. And then we go through that whole value. Everybody works on it, and it doesn't matter what religion you are, what political affiliation, what sports, what culture, what creed, what race. Everybody's welcome. I say everybody's got a seat at my table. And then we have a totally different discussion, because the discussions these days, families are falling out with each other because they can't agree. And it is all about people wanting to be right. It is better to be kind. And, I also bring my truth to the table, but I don't bring it to be right. I bring it to give another perception or another side of it. I don't need people to agree with me. If they do agree with me, fine. If they don't agree with me, I respect you. But my wife always says about the value of respect, we don't need to like everybody who we come into contact with. And that might be a revelation for some people. But she says, however, to show respect to the person standing in front of you is a direct revelation of your character rather than theirs. So if we can listen and at least show people some respect, and as Stephen Covey used to say, try to understand before being understood, rather than to fight and be right. I mean, I've now, you maybe heard it as well, families falling out with each other, best friends splitting up altogether. I said, well, you were never best friends in the first place, because me and my best friends don't get on about everything, but there would be not a hair on my head that would think that we actually split up after 40 odd years being friends. So these basic human values, get people to sit around the table and talk about something that really matters, because we need I think basic human values are the foundation of life, our foundation of business, and our foundation of our social environment. And if we don't take a step back and embrace them again, we are already on a slippery slope. And we need to, between all of us, including yourselves, and bringing all this to the screen, we need to kind of try to help lift them up again, even sometimes push them up to the top. But that's why we also need to keep growing, because if we try to lift people up and we are not growing, the question is, what are we bringing them up to? So we have a responsibility to the people who we lead, who we guide and support, that we also take care of ourselves. And that's why self-care comes in as well. We're no good to anybody. It doesn't matter how much of a passion, how much of a heart we've got, how much our heart wants to sing. We have no idea and no passion and purpose left when we become ill or dead. That heart stops singing when we stop. So if we want to keep singing, and we want that heart to sing, and we want to share that joy with other people, then we need to do everything we can to have that energy inside of us and have that life coming out of us, so we can be like the beacons of light, or be like that attractive power that people want to be around, because they don't want to be around. Most people spend most of their life around miserable people, and I says I'm not going to add to that. And that's why I haven't bought a newspaper for more than 35 years. I have no well, we've got a television screen that came with the house we're renting, but we have no television. We sometimes watch a film on it, but it took us 6 months even to get that screen going. but that's by choice, because I met a guy, I don't know if you'd ever heard of him, Charlie Tremendous Jones. He's now passed away a few years ago. But he said there is 3 things that really govern most of our life: the things we hear, the things we read, and the people we associate with. And now some people might only need to change 1 or 2 things, but there's certain people that probably need to really have a close look at themselves in the mirror and might have to replace all 3 of them.
Yes.
What do we value most? What does our heart sing about?
Yeah, and in the beginning, you were speaking about creating or living a legacy, and I think those 3 elements you just mentioned. Part of living that legacy is growing those aspects and bringing in more of the positive and discarding more of the negative, right? That it's a continual effort, not just a one and done.
Definitely, and we should not be too bothered about the judgment of other people, provided we don't give it either, because it's so easy to judge. We don't know other people's situation, but I've seen this in the last couple of years as well. The judgment that's coming out, and some of it, the language they use to communicate that judgment. Let's be kind to the way they do that. But I thought, well, we don't have to go down to that level. And we need to rise above that, because I've seen people who did that, and I said to them, please don't do that. That doesn't make you any better than the person who doesn't understand you. Yeah, but and then you get excuses. But it says, no, let's try to understand where they come from. You don't know what's happened in their situation, and they might just lash out. But we shouldn't do that, because if we do that back, we're gonna be in a fight. And that's how wars start and all that kind of stuff. And let's try to be kind rather than to be right. That's also a value we should practice more. Respect, listening, connecting with people. Give people a hug. It's allowed again now. Hug people, or even touch them with the heart. If you can't touch them with the body, touch them with the heart, and show them that you care. Because we can all do that without at times. We've all been down and we've all suffered in silence. And that's also where, the quote the power quote that I now use, and it's on my emails as well, because there is plenty of people who will be inspired by our voices. We are inspired by what the 3 of you do. There is a missing person today, but what the 3 of you are doing, that inspires so many people. And we can all receive that inspiration, but then should we keep it to ourselves, or should we open our heart and say, let's share some of that. Let's sing together.
Absolutely. And we create that harmony, that beautiful sound, not just because we're singing solo, but because we join together and sing in harmony with one another.
I love that. Yeah.
So Thank you so much, Jan, for sharing your values with us and your passion for leadership. And we really are all leaders, whether that is leading ourselves, which always has ripple effects upon those around us, whether we have an official designated leadership title or we just lead by character and who we are.
And you're absolutely right there, Steph. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is not a position either. Leadership is a behavior, and that's what people should question more than anything. And I said as well, I love the harmony thing as well, about singing in harmony. That's such a great way to express this. And we also, some people think that they won't make a difference because they don't make a difference, and they should actually look up what the butterfly effect does. I've got a great about the whole butterfly effect as well. But basically, the butterfly, we might do things today. I mean, anything you might have said today might have inspired somebody, and maybe even not this generation, but the generations down the line, that might have created Einstein or some amazing Martin Luther King or those kind of people. They might come from something that happened generations ago, where somebody started passing and the snowball got bigger, and all of a sudden somebody catches that spark. So is it not worth just doing something, hoping in our generation, but if not, at least down the line, things are going to be changing because of something we did. And that's, I suppose, is more like leaving a legacy. But if we don't live it, when will it ever happen? Do we leave a couple of books and hopefully people will read them and do something about it, or they just have shelf development? They grab a wonderful book and then just put it on the shelf once they've read it and do nothing with it, like so many people do. No, we need, rather than read a book, listen to a person, and maybe even just a listening might save a life.
Yes, for sure. You mentioned leaving a legacy in respect to the thought that, as you were saying, that came to mind for me as I listened to this podcast, and the opening intro for that podcast is leave footprints, not blueprints. That essentially, we're leaving footprints wherever we go, and people can follow those. So, I think we're always leaving and living the legacy. We're always in the process of creating the path that others might follow or might shun away from. And we have the opportunity to learn how to create a better path for others to follow, including ourselves.
I love that, Stefan. And as you said, what just came to me when you said we're leaving footprints, and some of these footprints will be in the sand, and they're not permanent. But we can always leave other ones as long as we keep going forward and upwards. We leave new footprints every day, and that's why we need to live every day and live that legacy. Because if we want a footprint or a handprint like some stars do in cement, that's wonderful, and that'll be there in years to come. But what has become of the person? As long as we do our best to leave better footprints every day, maybe deeper footprints. And not because we start eating too much food, but deeper footprints in the hearts and the souls of other people. Then that is where we succeed, and that's the beauty of what you do as well. The three of you do, bringing people together and sharing of your own experiences and the whole theme about making your heart sing, the heart songs, the whole idea of this, and that spoke to me. That's why I first connected to the three of you, because I think that is really what we need to do. Many hearts are hurting. Many hearts are sore and pain and in depression mode. And yes, it's in the head as well. But if only we could bring a spark of beauty back in the hearts of people, how wonderful will that be? And it will not be every heart, but even if it's in some hearts, hoping that they are going to create a ripple effect and pay it forward too.
Thank you, Jan, for sharing everything you've shared today. I'm sure that you have left footprints and deep and better footprints in many hearts today. Our good friend Olivia here has got an outro clip to share, and we look forward to seeing you on our Sing Your Heart Song Summit, which is coming up ever more quickly.
Yes, and I look forward to seeing many people there, because you've got so many other amazing people that you're interviewing in the next, already have done in the next weeks ahead and month ahead until the end of July. And so people, clear your calendar for the end of July, because these two geniuses and the third one who's not here today, they will bring this to you, and you're going to really benefit from listening what they're bringing to the table, and they will make your heart sing, believe me.
Thank you.
Thank
Jan,
you.
thank you so much. Oh my gosh, there's this incredible conversation, and it's so true. Like, many hearts are hurting, many hearts are sore, and they need maybe just a little bit of massage.
Yeah.
And so that's what the Sing Your Heart Song Summit is about. Yeah, massaging those hearts. And I love that. Leaving better, deeper footprints every day. What a great way to end the segment. All right. And I'd love also what you said earlier about having just half your luggage or half your suitcase be books.
Yes.
And so books are something that's really important to Steph and I. And I'm in Boston, and I love visiting the bookstores here, independent bookstores. So just want to give a big shout out to Trident bookstores here in Boston. And this is their bag that they have. So this is, well, Eat, Sleep, and Read.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Nice.
They have Raising Passionate Readers. And so they've got an
Excellent.
amazing bookstore there. They're very, super family friendly, kid friendly. And I just love that they have this for the kids, right? Raising Passionate Readers. So I had a fantastic time at Trident Booksellers. If you're in Boston and you're in Newbury Street, please go visit them, have
There you
brunch
go.
there, and pick up a book. Because
I mean,
it's so true. Books have amazing impact.
Change Your World. That's what I'm reading at the moment. It's it's actually about values, especially, and it's a phenomenal book. And that's what we're all. I mean, it speaks to all of us. I know. We are changing our world, and by doing so, we change everybody else's, hopefully too, in a positive way.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So if you're watching this now, please continue the conversation. Share with us what values mean to you. Check out some of the resources that are available on Jan's website at Key Leadership. So I'm going to pop that link here on the screen. But definitely would love for you to recommend checking out some of the amazing programs and trainings that you and both Arthi do, right? You run the company together?
Yeah,
Yes.
my wife, Dr. Arthi Moore Roberts, also has her own training company, and she's been a diversity and inclusion specialist for 20 odd years. She started when she was 5, of course. But no, phenomenal speaker too. And yeah, we work together, and that's also beautiful to be able to do that together, to walk that journey together.
Fantastic. I love to see that collaboration between spouses, because that's a whole other category. So wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Kudos to you. So check out the resource here at keyleadership.com. You can also connect with Jan on LinkedIn. So please go ahead and make that request. And then, of course, get to know him also on Facebook. This is the link right here. And if you want to follow Jan everywhere, he does have a Linktree site. So this is where you can get all the links in one place. So thank you so much.
And thank you both too. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. So hashtag replay if you are watching this later on, and share this out, and we will see you in July. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, we did it. Perseverance and resilience, right? So
That's right.
I'll talk to you later. All right, let me find the clip here.